I've had an inquiry as to whether fitting an air filter over the regulator air intake hole would have any great benefit on prolonging the life of the regulator. I think in the case of my regulator we've never had any problems with the ingress of dirt or blockages, because the whole air in hole and the air out hole are both quite large. However, I'll just talk a little bit about this subject in relation to other regulators. So the first thing I'll mention is, if you've got a buddy bottle filled air rifle such as a BSA or a Theoben Rapid 7, and you're taking the bottle on and off, you no doubt are aware that the seal on the neck of the buddy bottle becomes worn. It can become teared and frayed, and you can also get little bits of metal swarf off of the threads both on the bottle and inside, and also just general dust and dirt out your gun bag or pocket, or if you drop your bottle on the floor. Now, on both the regulators I've just mentioned, the BSA and the Theoben regulator, both of them have got extremely small air intake holes on the regulator. Both of them are microscopic, especially the one on the BSA, and any dirt or grime that gets into that regulator could cause mechanical problems. And I think, you know, some of the wear and tear problems I've seen on regulators have mainly been with those on buddy bottle filled guns. So the main tip is, there isn't really any room to fit an air filter into your BSA or into your Theoben. So the main tip there is just to make sure that you keep your bottle neck thread absolutely clean, keep the connection where you screw it on clean, and if your seal starts to wear, don't be a tight arse, because seals, if you go to a big seal seller, you'll get them at 10p each. So just buy yourself, you know, 2 or 3 dozen seals, and as soon as they start to wear, replace them. So just keep it clean, that's the main thing. The next main issue with dirt problems in PCPs, as you're probably no doubt aware, is the ones that use a filling probe with 2 O-rings on. These O-rings are often get nicked and damaged, and wear and tear is swarf as you're pushing it in and out. And I would say that over the years, I'd say that up to 80% of the general repairs that we used to undertake were in valve infill leaks due to little bits of dirt and swarf and broken seal getting in on probe fill up guns. So quite often we have seen these little bits of seal and things actually right down, and some have got jammed in the outlet valve. So obviously this little piece of slither of seal has migrated all the way from where you filled it all the way to your outlet valve. So there isn't any reason for it not to also get into your regulator. So again, make sure that you keep your probe clean and replace the seals if they need be. In general, if you do get little bits of dirt into the cylinder, because on my regulator you sit it with the breathe hole upwards, the air intake hole is at the top as well, and although the air does gush through this at some considerable rate for a microsecond, it wouldn't really pick up any little bits of rubber that are in the bottom of the cylinder and suck them round and through the hole, so there shouldn't be an issue. I have seen other people's regulators where the intake hole is very small and it's in the centre of the adjuster screw, and again, it's not liable to get a piece of dirt in it because it's up off the inside of the cylinder, but the smaller the hole, the more liable it is to become clogged. And also I've seen regulators that have got a totally sort of flat face on the air intake, and the hole is very, very small. So a small type of filter might be of some use. So if you were going to think about modifying your regulator and fitting a filter, this is what I'd say about it. Obviously you want something that's stainless or brass, so as it's not going to go rusty, especially if you've got a pump to fill your air gun up with. And also, it's not got to be very, as fine as this. If I can hold that up and the camera will focus. This stainless steel mesh is fantastic for making filters for PCPs, but when the air is going to be rushing through the hole, fitting something as fine as that over the hole really could be a bit of a hindrance, and you could find, unless it's held securely, you might get it sucked into the hole or cause issues. No doubt the piece of rubber or dirt that is going to be in your cylinder and get in is actually going to be relatively large, and so as the air can get through, you'd be best using a coarser grade of mesh. If again I can get that to focus, hopefully it's in camera. And so you'd be better using this. And also, if you weren't going to put it right against the hole, if you've got a little lathe or something and a soldering iron and you're using brass mesh, you make like a filter you might find on a pickup in a fuel tank, diesel fuel or petrol fuel tank, and just keep the mesh all the way round a couple of millimetres off the body of your regulator, just to stop, to keep it away so that the gush of air doesn't suck it into the hole. So, or you might be able to buy a pre-made filter of some sort, which you can fit into the cylinder on the end of a plug so that the air passes through that and then into the regulator. Or with some of the regulators where the air goes in through the end, we have made regulators in the past where we've bought off the shelf a sintered brass air filter or sintered bronze air filter like this, and then that is screwed directly onto the end there, and the air has passed through that into the regulator. We used to do that on some micro regulators, so that was a help. Otherwise, you might be able to just simply use a little scouring pad to fit over there just to block any dirt getting in. But my biggest tip and my simplest tip, and this goes for PCPs in general, and not particularly ones fitted with regulators, but all PCPs, so that if any dirt does get in your inlet valve, to stop it getting and jamming up and causing leaks at your outlet valve, the simplest, easiest thing for you to do is simply take some of your silicone grease and get a nice dollop of it, and then when you fitted the regulator in and you know whereabouts in the cylinder it's going, if you can't reach down that far with your finger, get a tool or something, you put a bit of sponge on a piece of barbecue skewer, etc., and smear that. I'll put it on the outside, but you know what I mean. If you put a smear like that round on the inside of the cylinder, then any small little bits of rubber that come in from the inlet valve should hopefully adhere to that, and that will save you any issues. Or likewise, you could always put some of this around the air intake hole on your regulator, whether it's my regulator or another manufacturer's regulator, and that should also pick up and hold within it any dirt, grime, metal, brass swarf off of threads, etc., and that should preserve the life of your regulator a little bit if that's a concern, or whether you've had dirt problems with your air gun in the past. So hopefully that was of some use to you, and hopefully instead of going to the trouble of probably making a filter, if you don't want to, then just applying some silicone grease around the regulator or into the reservoir will stop any dirt ingress problems into your regulator.